Okay, everybody. Welcome to Saturday Baseball. So let's get going. We have lots to talk about today. I got Spreaker running, and I will check the chat room and make sure all is good in the chat room. Hi, Malpal and Merrill Hartson, Douglas Boyle, Leonard, Unholy Toledo. Yay for me. So nice to see you, Unholy Toledo. One question that was posed in the chat room just 15 minutes ago or so was a question by our friend Malpal, who says, why do the Yankees think that Rizzo is better than Luke Voit? And I thought it was an interesting question because I've been thinking about that for the last few days, actually. I didn't think about it today until I saw your question in the chat room. So I went to Fangraphs and I did a quick comparison of players. And I've been frustrated too because it's like, I just feel that Luke Voit deserves an opportunity to play, and I think a lot of people feel the same way about that. And although Rizzo, I think what it comes to make a long story short, I think what it comes down to is the strikeout percentage and the plate discipline that Rizzo has that Luke Voit has not shown that he has. Um, I'm pulling up the information that I have on them, and when I did a comparison, I found out that like their on base percentage is really similar. Their average, Rizzo has not as good of an average as Luke Voit. Luke Voit has a 260 batting average. Anthony Rizzo has a 249 average, but Rizzo only strikes out 14.9% of the time, and Luke Voit strikes out 29.7% of the time. And both of these guys missed substantial time in the recent past. But I will say this in Yankees defense. I don't know if this is just because Brett Gardner is sore or what's going on there, but they are finding room in the lineup for both of these two guys, DH or first base. And I do believe that Luke Voit can play other positions, but I'm not positive of that. And I totally might have just been lying. I'm not really sure that's true. But the Yankees are on fire right now, and it's nice to see both of these guys in the lineup. So in the like yesterday, just Luke Voit was in the lineup because Rizzo was on the bench, which that's a good sign. So it kind of tells me that maybe the Yankees don't think Rizzo is better than Luke Voit. But another reason that could be maybe is the fact that Rizzo makes so much more money than Luke Voit, and I wonder if that has anything to do with it. Usually guys that get paid the most money do not sit out. I still think Luke Voit will get an opportunity to play with the Yankees because there's so many issues all the time with their injuries. Anyway, since August 8th, Rizzo has been hitting pretty good. He has 3 home runs, and he just came back from the injured list. So he's only actually played in a couple games since he's been back. But from July 30th till right before he went on the injured list with COVID, from July 30th to August 7th, it was 9 games. He has 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, a 281 batting average. So he's doing fairly well with the Yankees before getting COVID. And then Luke Voit is also hitting very well, maybe even a little bit better than Rizzo, but still both of them acceptable for sure. In the last 12 games from August 8th through August 20th, Luke Voit has 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, 304 batting average, which, by the way, is not going to last because his batting average on balls in play is something like 380 or something. Either way, we know that he strikes out a lot. So it's really hard to assume or imagine that he would continue to have a batting average over 3. But again, I know that the Yankees called up Estevan Florio, who is an outfielder that they said they called up because of Brett Gardner being sore. And we'll talk a little bit more about that lately. I got to meet Florio. He's a very nice guy. Took a picture with him. He didn't do bad, actually. I was pleasantly surprised when I looked up the numbers today to see what he did when he came up and in his last stint in the major leagues, and it wasn't bad. So, but he's not in the batting order today. So, I think he was just called up today. Maybe he'll get a day off, but do prepare for him to get some playing time as well. Not over Luke Voit, though. I don't care what you have to do. You got to get these two guys in the lineup. At least Luke Voit needs a chance to play. He's a likable guy. He's a hard worker. He's a clubhouse person, and what sign are you sending to your players if you're benching guys like him? So I feel you, Malpal, with the question there. Going on to the nuggets of the day, the Mets claimed Heath Hembree when the Reds put him on waivers, and he was actually the Reds closer just like a few weeks ago. He was acting as the Reds closer. Now the Reds have someone new as their closer. I can't think of who it is at the moment, but we'll talk about that later. So Jacob Degrom, in order to make room on their roster for Heath Hembree, Jacob Degrom was moved to the 60-day injured list. Okay, so that's not a good sign for people that are waiting for Jacob Degrom to come back for your fantasy team. Just stop. Get your hopes right in reality, because Jacob Degrom is probably not going to help. No, I mean, it's not just probably anymore. I would say that the chances of Jacob Degrom helping your fantasy team from here on this season is pretty much slim to none. They're still talking about whether or not they want to bring him back. If the Mets aren't contending, why would they bring him back? It would just be I mean, if any team would be stupid enough to do it, it would be the Mets, but I don't think they're going to. I just don't think they're going to. Even if you're in a roto league and you don't have playoffs, and so, it goes a little bit longer than points leagues or head to head. I just feel like banking on him to come back this year is a losing goal. They say, though, still, even though he's on the 60-day, he still will have served 60 days on the injured list come my birthday, September 13th. So he is eligible, even though they moved him to the 60, he's still eligible to come back September 13th. I just don't see it happening at this time, because there is no timetable for him to return, and the Mets aren't doing great. They're just not. Whoever wins the National League East is going to the playoffs, and how many teams are in the NL East? Is there 5? I think there's 5. Anyway, there's only one of them going to the playoffs. That's what I think still. I really tried hard to find my San Francisco Giants hat today, and because I couldn't find it, I decided to wear orange, and so that's why I'm wearing orange. I'm rooting for the Giants because they're really getting close to losing their lead in the National League West, and I really root for them because they are the underdogs, and definitely the underdogs. I love Wilmer Flores. I love their pitching, and I am very much rooting for them to keep ahead of the Dodgers. I don't like the Dodgers only because and then the Dodgers, there's just no question heading into the season that they spend the most money in all of baseball. They're the only team to go over the tax threshold, so they definitely spend the most money out of anybody. They have a team that entering the season would be probably the favorite to win the National League West, and they've run into a lot of struggles, though, this year, and they've been able to overcome those. So whatever, I'm still rooting for the Giants. That's all there is to it. Go Giants. Please win some games. It's not good right now because the Dodgers are now a game and a half behind the Giants, and that is not good. The momentum is a big deal. So CC Sabathia was talking about Ohtani the other day. You know what? If I was somebody like that, if I was somebody important enough to where people wanted me to speak on Ohtani, I would be scared to speak on Ohtani. I would literally be like worried that I was going to get canceled because I said something that wasn't mindful or something like that, because it's not really even about being mindful. It's about anything you say that is like, but Ohtani's not mad. Ohtani's not mad at Jack Morris. What happened with that whole thing is a joke. Here's a guy that's been in baseball for all these years, and then he turns around as soon as he did it. He apologizes for it. As soon as he finds out that people are upset and offended, he apologizes on the air for it. You know what? They decided that they aren't going to accept his apology. Be very aware of these types of people that preach, oh, we're so inclusive and like we accept everybody. Watch out, because they will cancel you in a heartbeat. And maybe you've seen them canceling other people, but you're not concerned about it because they haven't canceled you. But eventually, the type of people that cancel to begin with will cancel you, and they will also get canceled by their own people. So whatever it is, I just think it's just like going out of control. That here's Ohtani saying, I'm not offended. Like, Who's offended? Why is everybody offended for somebody else? Anyway, moving on, we'll talk about more about that later because, well, Vic DiPotetto did not have a New York Yankees locker room today, but he did have another video that I thought was excellent because he's a comedian and he goes on Facebook and he posts his videos and people get offended by them. I can only imagine, okay, because he's always been quite I guess offensive, if you will, could really offend somebody that's not even really crazy. Like some things that he says are not for the sensitive people out there. But nowadays, it's even worse than it's ever been. But anyways, Shohei Ohtani, I bring up Shohei Ohtani. CC Sabathia was talking about Ohtani saying that, he's doing what every kid dreams of doing. And right now, the Little League World Series is going on, and the best guy on the team is the pitcher, and he hits home runs, and he's the best player on the team. So Ohtani is literally playing Little League in the majors, basically. That's what CC said, which is pretty nice. And, of course, Ohtani, he's got 40 home runs right now. That's 5 more than anybody else in Major League Baseball. He's got 20 home runs that have an exit velocity of 110 miles an hour or more. That's 5 more than anyone else in baseball, any other hitter. His opposing batting average when he pitches is, on his splitter, but it's still really good. The opposing hitters are batting .075 on his splitter. That's the lowest of any pitcher on any pitch in baseball. His ERA is 1.58 since July 1st. That's the second lowest with a minimum of 5 games started. His WAR, dude, is crazy. He has the best WAR in baseball. He's got a 7.3 combined WAR. That's 1.5 more than anybody else in baseball. I'm just saying, he's got a 24.8% barrel rate. That is definitely the highest in baseball. And so anyways, he's having a great season. We all really like it. And I think that there isn't a person that loves the game of baseball that doesn't love what Ohtani is doing right now. If you don't love what Ohtani is doing, I don't know. You would have to question how much you really like the game, because this is the type of thing that, makes people want to watch. And it's very great. So anyways, let's talk about Chris Sale. Another good little nugget here about good news is that Chris Sale, since he joined the Red Sox in 2017, he's made more scoreless starts of at least 5 innings than any other pitcher in the American League. Plus, he missed all of 2020 and most of 2021. So imagine that. He's got 22 outings where he's pitched at least 5 innings and not given up or allowed any runs. So that's crazy considering that he hasn't even played baseball for a whole year when he got Tommy John surgery. Anyways, his last 3 starts at Fenway Park, he has a 1 ERA in 18 innings, 2 runs, 1 walk, and 26 strikeouts in his last 3 Fenway Park starts. Unbelievable, dude. Yesterday, I think he pitched. Last night and threw 5 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs. So still, dude, if you were able to grab him quickly, or if you were able to activate him after all this time, then good for you. It's finally paying off. Kiki Hernandez is another Red Sox. Okay, this guy is hitting 600 when leading off at Fenway. In the last 23 games, he's batting 600 when leading off in the first inning at Fenway. He's got a 2.102 OPS, 12 for the last 20, 2 walks, 8 extra base hits, 4 home runs, a triple, 3 doubles, no strikeouts. Okay? No strikeouts in 23 games leading off at Fenway. So, anyways, his last 6 trips to the plate turned out to be a double, a walk, a single, and a double. Kiki Hernandez having a great year. So, there's one player that has a 300 plus batting average and a 500 or plus slugging percentage in each of the last 3 seasons. There's one player. It has to be a qualified hitter too. So, you can't just be that. But qualified hitters, there's one player in baseball that has a 300 batting average and a 500 slugging percentage in each of the last 3 seasons. So that is some trivia of the day. Let me know what the answers are in the chat room. Kyle Schwarber. What do you think? Kyle Schwarber was a good. Well, we'll see what happens. But he's got a 611 on base percentage in 5 games with the Red Sox. He's 6 for 13 with 3 doubles and 5 walks. Rafael Devers. There's lots of Red Sox stuff here. He leads the majors with 180 extra base hits since the start of 2019. He has 249 career extra base hits, and he could become only the 41st player since 1900 to reach 250 extra base hits before turning 25 years old, and the 3rd Red Sox player to do so. Who do you think the other 2? I'll just tell you. It was Ted Williams and Bobby Doerr. The GM of the Braves, Alex, I think his name's Alex Anthopoulos. Anyway, the GM of the Braves, he tells MLB Radio, all right, that the reason that they traded for Jock Peterson, well, one of the reasons that they traded for Jock Peterson was that they wanted to send a message to the clubhouse that they were not giving up, that they were still in the race. And since they did decide to invest in Jock Peterson, the team is 22-11. They lead the NL East by 4 games and will continue to stay atop the National League East. What a great decision. Both of these 2 teams, between the Braves and the Phillies, they were questionable at the trade deadline as to, people were speculating, sellers and buyers, depending on who you're talking to, what these 2 teams were going to do. And turns out that both of them did the right thing by getting and adding players to their team. So they're 22-11. They lead the NL East by 4 games. The Dodgers, boo, Dodgers, boo. We have some Bauer news later in the show too. Bauer news. The Mets, they're now 6 games behind Atlanta, and they're not going to catch up. Don't even think they are. That is why Degrom is not coming back on the 13th of September. You can mark my words on this one. He's not coming back. The Mets are not good enough to risk this guy coming back and getting hurt. So that's that. Max Fried shut out yesterday on 90 pitches. He's the first. Well, it's the first Braves shutout on 90 pitches or fewer. They call it a Greg Maddux when you can do a shutout with less than 100 pitches. So this is the first time that the Braves had a Greg Maddux shutout on 90 pitches or less since my birthday, September 13th, 2000. He did it in 89 pitches. So actually, only 3 Braves since 1988. That's when pitch counts were first tracked in 1988, not that long ago. Only 3 Braves pitchers have thrown a 9-inning shutout on 90 pitches or less. Only 3 pitchers, but it actually happened 7 times. Max Fried, of course, is one of them, as he did last night. And then you have Tom Glavine, who did it once. And then you have, Tom Glavine did it 5 times. 5 times. Wait, no. Hold on a minute. It's Greg Maddux did it 5 times. Greg Maddux. That's what they named it after. Greg Maddux 5 times, Tom Glavine 1 time, and then last night Max Fried 1 time. So there's been 3 Braves that have. That's where they get the name from, though. So, Greg Maddux, he did it 5 times. I would assume that does deserve a nickname. Anyway, Shelby Miller did it. Well, Shelby Miller, the Braves' last Maddux with a shutout on fewer than 100 pitches. Lenny, why does it say that since pitches were first tracked in 1988, only 3 Braves pitchers have thrown a Maddux? It says that Greg Maddux did it 5 times, Tom Glavine did it 1 time, and then Max Fried did it last night. And then the very next nugget, it says that the Braves' last Maddux was Shelby Miller in 2015, and he did it with 94 pitches. That doesn't make sense. Shelby Miller pitched for the Braves, right? I'm pretty sure he did. I know he's pitched for several teams, and everybody was really disappointed in him. But how can it be three pitchers and then it says Shelby Miller did it? That doesn't make sense. Anyway, the Orioles, let's talk about that. Is Eddie here? Let me see if our friend Eddie is here. Unholy Toledo is here. Good day to you, Unholy Toledo. So, Leonard. Okay, going back to the notes. The Orioles have lost by 2 or more runs in 16 straight games. That's the longest streak by any team since the 1876 Red Stockings. Cincinnati Red Stockings. That team was 9-56 in the first season of the National League. And then, of course, they were disbanded a couple years later. So no surprise there, right? They joined the current Reds franchise that we have still today, joined in 1882. The Orioles have lost 16 consecutive games by multiple runs. That's tying the second longest streak in Major League Baseball history. Not a good run for the Orioles is what I'm trying to say here, okay? Yesterday is the first time that the Royals have ever hit 5 solo home runs in a game. Yesterday. It's the first time. So it's also the first time that they ever had 3 home runs hit by a catcher in a game. 3 hit by catchers, multiple catchers. The Giants, I told you already, they lost to the A's. The Dodgers gained ground for the 3rd consecutive day. Now they're within 1.5 games back, and that's the closest that they've been since the Dodgers beat the Giants on a Will Smith walk-off home run on July 20th. So, whatever. Starting pitcher Jaime Berria for the Los Angeles Angels. He was shelled yesterday for 5 runs in 2 innings. The offense, they didn't help out. They only got 4 hits yesterday. So Cleveland did win the game 9-1. That snapped the Angels' 3-game winning streak. But there was a new arrival yesterday, a prospect, Mr. Pitcher Jose Marte. Another Marte in baseball. So I don't know if they're all related somehow. Maybe not. Who knows? Just making a whatever. Anyway, he did good. He throws the ball 99 miles an hour, and he had pitched 2 scoreless innings. That's great. That was his Major League Baseball debut, and he struck out the first batter that he faced, which is Miles Straw, and then he struck out 3 more batters before the 2 innings was over. So he traveled after 4 days traveling with the Angels taxi squad. He is now up. He's 26 years old, so he's not like a young rookie. He was acquired from the Giants in July, and he's 6'3". He's a righty. They immediately put him at their Class A affiliate in Eugene, Oregon. He's actually played at 4 levels of baseball just in the past 3 months. So he's played 4 different levels of baseballs. Anyway, he only had a couple appearances at each level, obviously. So anyway, 22 of 33 of his pitches last night were strikes. I wouldn't get too excited about him. He didn't have a great time at AAA. He had a 10.8 ERA, and he pitched in 4 games, but he didn't start any of them. He's only threw 5 innings, and really, in my opinion, I'm pretty sure that this is the case most of the time. A pitcher who's a reliever in the minor leagues is usually not that great when they come up to the majors. They're just not. They usually, the good ones, they start out as starting pitchers. Anyway, he's not been a starting pitcher at any level. We'll see what happens. He's 26 or 25. Anyway, the Brewers entering yesterday. For Avisail, every time Avisail Garcia hit a home run, the Brewers pretty much won the game. They had a 955 win percent in games where Avisail Garcia hit at least 1 home run. That was the highest win percentage for any player's team winning homers in the season. So Avisail Garcia did not do well yesterday, but yes, entering yesterday, the Brewers were 21-1 when Avisail Garcia hit a home run in a game. Starling Marte is making his name in Oakland. He's he is tied for 13th most stolen bases in the American League, and he's third still in the National League for stolen bases. No player has ever finished in the top 10 in stolen bases in both the American League and the National League in the same season. So we'll see what happens. But since stolen bases became a thing in 1920, he still ranks fourth for the most consecutive successful stolen base attempt to start an Oakland Athletics career in since 1920. So he's still, I think he's got, I don't know, maybe he has six stolen bases so far. No, 13. He's got 13 consecutive successful stolen bases since he's become an Oakland Athletic. All right, so name the players that are age 37 or more with 16 or more home runs in a 26 games span. There's only 3. 2 of them are currently active, and that would be, well, Barry Bonds did it in 2001. He was still hitting homers when he was 37. Then Nelly Cruz did it in 2019, and he's still doing it. And Joey Votto. Now, Joey Votto is being this is the star of this particular section of Nuggets, because Joey Votto is having the best run of his career right now. He absolutely is just crushing it. So let me tell you, like, over the past 29 games, Joey Votto has 17 home runs and 40 RBIs over the last 29 games. And if you average that out over a full season of 162 games, that is a pace of 95 home runs and 223 RBIs. That's how good it is right now. That's how good he is at this moment. So the most home runs that he had ever hit in a 29-game span in his career was 12. That was in 2010. He walks a ton. He's just been, people have complained over the years like that he's not that he needs to stop walking and start hitting the ball more, because for whatever reason people weren't satisfied with the fact that this guy gets on base constantly. So the Reds players with 16 or more home runs in a 26-game span are Frank Robinson, Ted Cruz. I don't know how to say his name. It just really seems like it would just mess me up. He's from 1954, so Lenny obviously knows the guy, but Ted Kluszewski. I probably sound stupid, but I didn't really watch baseball back then, so I'm not familiar with this. And I'm not a huge Reds fan, so I apologize if I'm offending any Reds fans out there. Frank Robinson did it in 1962. Definitely know Frank Robinson. And in 2021, Joey Votto. So there's only one other Major League Baseball player with more than 30 RBIs since July 30th or July 20th. And that would be one player. Okay. I want to give you guys a chance to answer in the chat room. There's one other MLB player besides Joey Votto with more than 30 RBIs since July 20th. So the last 30 days, basically. More than 30 RBIs in the last 30 days. No, looking it up. I'll know if you do. So, and another thing about Joey Votto, he's got 6 seasons where he's walked at least 100 times. That's the most of any active player in baseball. What about the other 4 active hitters with at least 3 seasons of 100 walks or more? So we have three. Lenny, you can't play the trivia. You can't play the trivia. Oh, Malpal's playing. Okay. Malpal. Let's see the Giants. Oh, he may still be right about the Giants. I can only imagine that you're talking about Lenny saying that the Giants aren't going to last, and that's a bunch of BS. That's a bunch of nonsense. So where's my hat, Leonard? I can't find my San Francisco Giants hat, and I have Hunter Pence's autograph on that hat. Anyways, so Malpal is guessing Nelly Cruz and Eloy. Phonetic spelling for the 1950s Reds first baseman. Thank you, Meryl. Thank you very much. I'm not going to attempt it again, even though, because I don't know how to properly pronounce an S and then a Z. An SZ is in his name. Kluszewski. So Kluszewski. Anyway, here's the deal. Joey Votto has walked more than 100 times, 6 times in his career. He's walked more than 100 times. There's a couple other hitters in baseball that have done this, that are active still, that have done it 3 times or more. And one of them is Pujols. One of them is Harper. One of them is Mike Trout. And the other one is Carlos Santana. So if you were going to guess those, sorry, I stole your love, your thunder in the chat room. Kluszewski. Thank you. Thank you, Meryl. I learned a new name today. So, how often do you think this season that the Mets have decided that they were going to shift 3 or more infielders to one side of second base when a right-handed batter is up? Do, 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 do. I'm doing the Jeopardy countdown. Okay. Anyway, the Mets, 1,160 times the Mets have done this type of shift, okay, when a right-handed batter is up. The average team had done it 440 times, 444 times, and the Padres have only done it 51 times. They have not been very successful. The Mets is who I'm talking about right now. They have not been very successful. About 500 times, it's turned out the opposite of what they were trying for. And I don't know, like, the shift is going to come to, and maybe not an end, but there's going to be regulation on the shift coming in the next agreement that they make. Definitely the shift will be addressed. It's just that if you're going to do this 1,000 times and the average team is only doing it 400 times and you are only successful less than, well, you're successful a little more than you're not successful, but seriously, over 500 times, it turned out to burn them. So it's not like they get any kind of edge by doing this. And there's a lot of hitters in baseball. I just don't, so the way I see it, the Mets are overdoing this shift. They are underestimating Major League Baseball hitters, because most of the batters in baseball are capable of hitting the ball to the spot that they, I assume this. Now, I don't know why all Major League Baseball players how do they even get to the majors as a hitter and they can't hit to the opposite field? I don't really get that, but that's the case. Joey Gallo can't hit to the opposite field. Like, there's a lot of hitters. Well, not a lot. I would say that there's probably, if I had to guess right now, I would guess that maybe 10% of hitters can only hit to one side of the field. Like, there's only 10%. At least the other 90% can probably hit to the middle or to the opposite, or, maybe they hit to the same side a lot of times, but they're still capable. So doing that shift doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. If you're doing it way more than 10% of the time, you should only really do that shift if the guy up at the plate cannot hit to the opposite side of the park. So it baffles me, this whole thing. The Mets have done it 1,160 times. Okay. Here's the Yankees. If you're a Yankees fan, you're really pleased right now. The Yankees have won 9 out of their last 10. They're really on a run here. I did hear that Severino does not have any damage, and his test came back and he doesn't have any, what do they call it? Damage to his muscles or tissues or anything like that. He doesn't have damage in his elbow, but he's still no timetable to come back. So don't even get your hopes up for this cat either, because he's probably not going to be useful. Anyways, the Yankees are getting it done right now. So earlier in the season, they were not getting it done through game 1 of the July 4th doubleheader that they had. So from the beginning of the season through July 4th, the first game, they had a -13 run differential over 82 games and a 41-41 record. So they were right at 500. And then since game 2 of that same day, July 4th, The Yankees have a positive run differential of 42, plus a 29-11 record in the last 40 games. So they really turned up the heat. They are 26-10 against the Twins since the start of the 2015 season. They are actually 106-38 against the Twins since 2002. So that's a really good DFS bet for you. When the Yankees are playing the Twins, you can assume that the Yankees are probably going to win. You know, they've knocked them out of so many playoff runs. They've knocked them out of the American League Championship Series more than one time. Every time that the Twins get stuck playing the Yankees, they lose like the very first game. So, or the first series. They never make it past the first series when they have to face the Yankees in the American League. So anyway, Robbie Ray. Last year, Robbie Ray was not good. He wasn't good, but he was still reliable for certain things. Like heading into the season, you knew what you were getting with Robbie Ray. You were like, okay, he's going to strike out a lot of batters. He's going to pitch a lot of innings, and he's really going to screw you on walks, and he's going to probably wreck your ERA. And you knew what you were getting, though. And in a year where we were expecting a lot of pitchers not to be able to throw a lot of innings this season, he was actually, his value got bumped up a little bit, or his his usefulness. And then we know that before spring training, Robbie Ray added a pitch or fixed a pitch or changed something about his delivery. I can't remember what it was, but Lenny was all on top of it, talking about Robbie Ray is going to be this great pitcher. And he had a really good spring training. So at draft day, Robbie Ray was still a very good value on draft day. Anyways, last year, he did not pitch into the sixth inning. Well, he did pitch into the sixth inning, but he never recorded an out in the sixth inning all last year. So last night, he threw 8 innings, 5 hits. No, he did not walk any. So he enters the season and he's not walking anybody. And it's like, okay, that's great. Robbie Ray's not walking anybody, but he's giving up home runs. And the people that rostered Robbie Ray were starting to get frustrated because he was giving up. It's almost like he replaced his walks with home runs allowed. Last night he struck out 11. You know, that's to be expected, but it was his 13th quality start in his last 15 outings. And you know, to get a quality start, you have to pitch 6 innings. Unbelievable, dude. So that's crazy, right? Yesterday, 16 out of 30 teams started a left-handed pitcher. That is the 4th day in the 21st century with at least 15 games, and more than half of the starters are lefties. The 4th time. But going back to Robbie Ray, his season ERA is down to 2.79 because he did stop giving up so many home runs, and so he's actually been really good. Like I said, he's had 13 quality starts in the last 15 outings. And he is the Rays' best pitcher as we speak. He's not just the Rays' best pitcher. I mean, the Blue Jays. Sorry, I'm talking about the wrong team. I meant the Blue Jays, and he's not just the Blue Jays' best starter, but he is one of the better starters in the American League. And Lenny asked me a question today, and I knew this answer really quickly because Kyle Hendricks is on my team, and beginning of the season, he was very frustrating. But since the beginning of the season, in his early slump, he has been excellent. Since he jumped out of that slump, he's been excellent. He has the most wins in the National League. Kyle Hendricks is a monster because he is so reliable. Up through the end of the season, he will be still reliable. As long as he's not getting slaughtered on the mound, he's really reliable. Consistent, and in fantasy, he really evens things out. And you talk about a pitcher like Robbie Ray. Kyle Hendricks is the kind of the opposite of Robbie Ray, where he is not going to strike out as many batters, but he is going to be consistent throughout the season, and he will make up for a guy like Robbie Ray, who will make up for the lack of strikeouts with Kyle Hendricks. So that's kind of like the perfect match on your roster to, like, you know, if you're going to draft Kyle Hendricks, then you can draft a guy like Robbie Ray. It used to be Bauer on that list too, but now Bauer's in a whole other world of his own. There's really nobody in that tier at all. Bauer's like by himself in a lot of ways. Anyway, get Matt Chapman in your lineup immediately. If you have been benching Matt Chapman, I understand why. put him in your lineup because he's going crazy right now, and he's got 4 left-handed pitchers that he faces next week. He has 5 home runs in the last 7 games, and I will say there's another guy in Oakland that is stealing bases like a madman, I believe. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about next week as we go through a few players. I didn't really put a lot of players on the list today because I had so many nuggets, but I did add some players to be watching out for next week, kind of what to look for. Like this next week, we have 20 teams playing 6 games. We have 5 teams playing 7 games. And so the rest of the teams are playing. There's 5 other teams that are only playing 5 games this upcoming week. Another guy that has completely snapped. Well, we think. I mean, the last few days, if that says anything, then we can assume that Jared Walsh has snapped out of his horrible streak that he was in for a minute. The Angels face Baltimore at Baltimore. They face them 3 times, and then they go to San Diego for 2 games. But Jared Walsh, I believe, has snapped out of his slump. There's some other guys, too, that you might consider starting that play for the Angels. And I don't know who it is, but if you see, they're facing in Baltimore, they're facing Spencer Watkins, Jorge Lopez, and Keegan Aiken. None of these 3 starters are going to make it deep into the game. The Orioles, like we talked about earlier, the Orioles are on a horrible run right now, just losing games after games after games. All 3 of those pitchers have an ERA above 5. And so they really, it would be tempting to perhaps start Justin Upton. Who else on the Angels? Justin Upton, whatever. If you see a guy on the list that's an Angels, they have a good upcoming matchups for this coming week. Another thing, Eric Haas, Detroit, he's on the injured list, and Freddie Peralta to the injured list. Carlos Rodon is coming back this next week. I knew he was going to need some rest. That's exactly what he went for, is rest. They're hoping to ride him out for the rest of the season, and this guy has never come anywhere near, well, not in the recent history, right? So he hasn't pitched a full season, really. If he did, it was a long time ago. So let's talk about a couple hitters that might help you, since your boy Eric Haas is on the IL. I was looking at I was looking at the team with Jorge Alfaro and Alex Jackson, because Alfaro's been playing the outfield lately, and you know how much I love a catcher that actually plays the outfield but qualifies as a catcher. I really like that. I wanted to be able to say Jackson would be a good pickup, but he's absolutely not a good pickup. He's been very bad the last week or so, and obviously this guy, I don't know if how they're going to do it going forward. But a guy that you could consider is Riley Adams, catcher for Washington. I know that the Washington Nationals fans would love to see their prospect catcher come up. I forget his name right now, but he's a highly touted prospect catcher. They would love to see him come up. But this guy then was traded to the Nationals from Toronto. He had his best performance the other day so far. He's only been in the majors for this season for 25 games. Now, for the Nationals, I believe he wasn't traded very long ago. He had his best performance facing the Toronto Blue Jays. That's the team that he came from. But since August 15th, which is only the last 5 days, but he's played in 4 games out of the last 5 games, 15 at bats, 1 home run, 4 RBIs, 3 runs scored, and it seems like he's going to be playing a good chunk. I mean, in the last 4 games over that time, he's had a 4-game hitting streak, so he's hitting every game. He's batting .467 with a .500 on base percentage, and who knows, that's not going to last, but the playing time is definitely available for him, I think. It's Miami that has Alfaro and Alex Jackson both as catchers, but I don't think that I can really recommend Alex Jackson going forward at this point. So just if you're lucky enough to have Alfaro, then you're really pleased about this, because he is playing left field mostly, batting 7th or 8th in the lineup, which isn't great, but it's better than the bottom, like the last guy in the lineup. Anyways, he did hit. Alex Jackson did hit 287 with 11 home runs in 30 games at AAA. So, yes, he's not doing great overall since he's been called up to the majors, but in the minors, he did a good job, showed some power, and could definitely, like, maybe he won't even be good till next year, but, keep him in mind. So, first base, Bobby Dalbeck, he's been on the list a few weeks in a row now, and he's Bobby Dalbeck. He's hitting great in the month of August. I could tell you that. He's a power hitting first baseman. He didn't start the season very good, but he's been hitting very well this month. So if you need home runs, he's a good one to add. And then at second base, you have Jonathan Villar, he's a Met. He has had his ups and downs all season long. We didn't even think he was going to. Well, I disagreed with Lenny on this actually. Starting to begin the season, I questioned where the playing time was going to come for Jonathan Villar in New York, and I think we disagreed on how much playing time he was going to get. But here's the deal: he qualifies at second base, shortstop, and third base in the last 19 games in the month of August. He has 4 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 7 runs scored, and 9 RBIs. Definitely worth picking up Jonathan Villar for next week. He has serious like patches of times where he has a good run and then he's just horrible for a while and then he does okay. But anyway, he's currently in a good hitting streak. So he could be useful, especially with all the position eligibility. Then you have Issan Diaz. He is Miami Marlins. He qualifies at second and third base. So that's corner and middle. And from the 2nd of August in 17 games played, he has 2 home runs, 4 RBIs, a 283 batting average, and an on-base percentage of 333, 57 plate appearances in the last 17 games. Moving over to third base, you have Phil Goslin for the Angels. This is a good Angels guy to target for this coming week. They have great matchups. Like I said earlier, he plays both corners, first base and third base, and he's been playing pretty much every day. Jack Mayfield is spending time now on the bench because he has horrible plate discipline. So Goslin is batting third in the lineup, and he's playing third base mostly, but also qualifies at first base, or he plays both first and third. So since August, the whole month of August, he's got a 277 batting average with 11 RBIs, 2 home runs, and 11 runs scored in 65 at-bats. Playing most of the time. And batting third is always good, okay? Good matchups coming up this next week, too. So here's a guy, Nikki Lopez. Do you remember when Nikki Lopez came up and everybody was excited? He came up with at the same time as Austin Riley, this other guy that stole Oscar Mercado. It was Nikki Lopez, Austin Riley, Oscar Mercado, and maybe Eloy was in that group. I just remember it was a big deal because it was late in the season and it was like the last opportunity. Everybody thought they had to really go all in on these guys and none of them panned out. That's why I don't think Eloy was in the mix, but at least those 3 were pretty much disappointments from the beginning. And right now in Kansas City, Nikki Lopez, second base and shortstop eligible. Since August 1st, he has 7 stolen bases. He has not been caught stealing one time in those 7 stolen bases. He also has a home run and 7 RBIs and 7 runs scored. So if you need some stolen bases, immediately try for Nikki Lopez. Unless he got sent down or something crazy and I didn't notice it. Just, that could happen. You never know. Anyway, I think Kansas City is going to continue to give these. I mean, when are they going to call up, what's his name? When are they going to call this guy up? This guy is just this youngster in Kansas City that's hitting the stripes off the ball in the minor leagues, and he's a junior. What's his name? Junior. He deserves to be called up already. And they say he's going to be called up by the 1st, but there's also another Kansas City Royal youngster that, what's his name? Bobby Witt. Okay, there's another one too that's a Kansas City rookie, prospect, whatever. Both of these guys are tearing the cover off the ball in the minor leagues, and both of them should be called up by now, but they're not. They'll probably get the call up September 1st or maybe earlier. But 2, Bobby Witt Jr. and one other guy, don't forget this other prospect too, just because I know Bobby Witt is like the favorite of everybody, and he is just crazy hitting it. Like there's nothing for him to learn in the minors. And really, the fact that he's still there is baffling. Well, it's not baffling. We know the true ways, but okay. We also have on the list for outfielders, we have I had Estevan Florio on the list only because he was just recalled from AAA Scranton. Yes, today, actually. He's not in the lineup today. So when he was down there, he hit 300, 1 home run, and 2 RBIs. No, this is when he was in the majors before. He had 300 batting average, 1 home run, and 2 RBIs in 20 at-bats in his previous stint at the major league level. So it wasn't bad. I actually didn't think he hit very well when he was in the majors. Maybe he just didn't get a lot of playing time. But he was in the minors for just over a week. He went 5 for 16 with 3 doubles, 2 runs, and 2 RBIs in 4 games at AAA Scranton before getting called back up this morning. Brett Gardner is dealing with soreness. You know, he's an old guy, but he's a clutch old guy. So, anyways, Florio is available for depth. I don't recommend him over the rest of these outfielders that I'm going to talk about because I just don't know that the playing time is going to be there, especially with, Luke Voigt and Rizzo. We already talked about this earlier. But Joe Connor, Colorado first baseman, outfielder, both of these. Since August 1st, he has 8 runs, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs, a 589 slugging, and that's in 16 games, 56 at-bats. Absolutely, Joe Connor. I think that the Colorado Rockies are going to be playing a lot of games still at home. Do check that out because I think that they're much better at home than they are on the road hitting. Even their pitchers are better at home, if you can imagine that. So Cubbies called up on Tuesday Michael Hermosio. He hit his first home run very quickly thereafter on Wednesday, and he actually hit 306 at AAA, and he had 10 home runs this season with 29 RBIs and 34 runs scored. That was in 43 games and 147 at-bats. So since he was called up on Tuesday, he's appeared in 3 games. He has 1 home run, 2 RBIs, in 6 at-bats. That means the first day he only appeared, he got 1 at-bat. The next day he got 2 at-bats. I don't know what they're doing. Are they easing him into this? I'm not really sure. But he's not getting everyday at-bats, so we'll see. But they don't have a lot of depth in Cubbyville, so we'll see. He's been playing in the minors since 2013. This is not the top guy on my list here at all. He's 26 years old, so, he wasn't, if you've been in the minor league since 2013 and this is 2021, then you've spent quite a few seasons. But today he's batting 8th in the lineup, and we'll see what happens going forward. Yadiel Hernandez, I do recommend pretty highly. He's Washington Nationals since August 1st. He's played in 17 games, 52 at-bats, 9 runs, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, and a stolen base. Yadiel Hernandez, outfielder for Washington Nationals, playing all the time. Another guy that's playing a lot more than he was when the season started is Alex Dickerson, San Francisco outfielder. In 16 games this month, he has 9 runs, 3 home runs, and 10 RBIs. I've always had a fondness for Alex Dickerson, and it's really nice to see him, but this team needs to get it together, so he can't be the only one doing it. Bradley Zimmer, we've talked about him so many times, and the fact that he's only 30% owned in fantasy is it's telling, okay, of what we had to deal with Bradley Zimmer for several years before he became relevant. He has 7 runs, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 4 stolen bases in the month of August. So he's getting it done. He's stealing bases and hitting homers. There's a couple different news on the closer front, but I didn't really get in deep with this. I have just 2 closers on my list. One of them is Michael Gibbons. So from August 1st through August 20th, Michael Gibbons is getting saves like crazy, and I think that he's on the Reds, but let me check to make sure. Yes, he's a Reds closer. So another thing to be looking out here is for the Reds is that TJ Antone is coming back too, I think, but also they have Mike Lorenzen. Michael Lorenzen is going to be like the effector type. I think he's very interesting to watch. He throws the ball really hard. Michael Lorenzen could possibly get saves. Also, TJ Antone could possibly get saves. He's still on the injured list, but he could. Now, Lucas Sims, Amir Garrett are still on this team. And the fact is, Michael Gibbons is getting the save opportunities for the Reds right now. And so if he's available, he would be a good closer to add potentially. You're not going to get a great ERA from him. His ERA is 0, though, okay? Since the month of August, Michael Gibbons has, let me tell you his stats in the last 7 1/3 innings. That's from August 1st till now, which is the 21st, so 20 days, 7 innings, 4 saves, 2 holds, and a 0 ERA. He's walked 4, though, in 7 innings. So that's not a great walking percentage here, but he does strike out batters 6 in 7 innings. On the season, you can expect, going forward, what can you expect from Michael Gibbons? You can expect like a mid-3s ERA. It's not going to be great, or 4 even ERA, okay? It's just not great. He will get saves, though, just like he did in Baltimore. And he was always the last closer to go off the board, but he continuously gets saves. And yes, his ERA is not going to be great, but how many innings is he going to pitch, and how much is that going to really affect your ERA overall in a roto league? It's really not. So if you're getting those saves, then it's worth it to roster him. However, he's got on the season in 39 innings. I didn't even realize he was having such a good season. He's got a 2.08 ERA in 39 innings. That's 40 games that he's appeared in, and he has 4 saves so far. Those 4 saves all came in the month of August, by the way. So he's worth looking at. And also, I hate to say this because I'm not a fan of this cat, dude, and I doubt that this is going to be continuing. I don't know. Tyler Clifford back in Arizona, dude. Back in Arizona. Can you even imagine? For those of you who've been watching baseball for a long time, Tyler Clifford, I know he played in Arizona before. He pitched in Arizona before, but Clifford was not. He was mostly with Washington, actually. He's pitched for, in the last 5 years, Tyler Clifford has pitched for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, he's pitched for 11 teams. Okay, but he's pitched for 2 teams twice. So he pitched for New York Yankees twice, and he pitched for Arizona twice. But he's also pitched for the Mets, the Oakland Athletics, the Chicago White Sox, the Houston Astros, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Cleveland Indians, the Minnesota Twins, and now he's back with Arizona. So it's the other one. It's what's his name? His name is like right on the tip of my tongue, that used to pitch, Archie Bradley, and everybody always wanted him to be the closer in Arizona. And they didn't like him as the closer. They liked him as the effector. They liked him pitching maybe more than 1 inning. He wasn't really the closer type. Tyler Clifford, though, in his career, I have to admit, he had 1 season not that long ago where he got 32 saves, and he also had a season where he got 19 saves, but not a great track record over the past few years. Well, just for save situations. He's gotten a lot of holds still. Anyway, Tyler Clifford, is he the closer? It looks that way. He's the closer right now because they don't have very many. But I know if any of you out there were drafting the dude that I was really, and Malpal, who's the closer that I was recommending to everybody, that was in Arizona, that is in the minor leagues right now, who did not turn out to be great, but I really thought he could be. I still think he might come up someday and be good. Anyway, I don't see the prospect. He's not a prospect either. I got to go to the chat room and see. Who's the pitcher that we drafted, that you drafted in your only league from Arizona? Ginkle, Kevin Ginkle. Right. He's nowhere to be found, by the way. So that's why I couldn't even see him on the depth charts. He's nowhere to be found. Tyler Clifford's the man in Arizona. So that's that for the closer situation. As far as Bauer goes, he did win the court case against the girl. A couple things came out that I thought were interesting, that, the news I wish that I could just like go and look for myself at the court documents. I wish I could go just look for myself, because I don't really trust the spin that they put on things in the media, depending on which media you go to. It's always like, I mean, this girl was in the court case. There's a few things that I thought were kind of interesting. And she was texting her friends, and she was saying how happy she was that the media was pretty much taking her side, and that it felt good to her that she wasn't slut shamed. She says right off the bat, I don't think it's right to slut shame anybody, and I definitely don't think that it's right that, you know, a person that has been the victim of a sexual assault or is the accuser, I don't think that it's right to really make a judgment on anybody or any case like right off the bat, but it happens constantly. In the world we live in, it does happen a lot. So she was just saying, the media is freaking out, but they're on my side, and it's the best thing I could have hoped for. It kind of tells me like, well, okay, anybody, you can't blame her for being happy about that, right? But the media did take her side immediately. And even as recently as the Washington Post just last week, they published this article that Bauer says is completely slanderous. And then he felt it was so slanderous to his reputation that he then released a bunch of the text messages that he had on his phone, because the Washington Post was accusing him of having the same issue with another woman in like 2 years ago. So Bauer felt the need to release all these text messages between him and this other girl who was like, you know, the Washington Post only came out with one side of the story. Bauer said that they contacted all of his old girlfriends and a lot of his friends, anybody they could find that could possibly give them something negative or some dirt on Bauer. And the truth is, the thing that the Washington Post speaks of in their article is this situation where Bauer had a relationship with this girl for 3 years on and off. I think she lived in either Cleveland or she lived in Cleveland, but this was going on even after when he was pitching in Cincinnati. That was expunged completely. So any kind of information that's coming from the Washington Post, they got from a record like that isn't even, it's not even a real thing anymore. So anyway, Bauer released a bunch of text messages and statements from other people in Bauer's defense. But in the 3 days that they interviewed this girl, it came out that she admitted to having relationships with Fernando Tatis and other baseball players, that she's a San Diego Padres fan. Imagine that. That's kind of scary to me, that like, I don't know. Immediately, if I was Bauer, I would be like, "Why you as a Padres fan?" She was actually part of the Pod Squad, which is a bunch of like people that are advocates for the Padres, and they go and they do like they do community outreach and stuff like that for the Padres. And she had to quit that because she had a relationship going with one of the players, so she had to leave that. But she's that much of a Padres fan, so it has to make a person at least even question, like, this is crazy, because this is your rival team. Like these two teams, the Padres and the Dodgers, there's a big rivalry going on. They're very close in mileage, and they they were both good teams this year, so they were competing against each other big time. Now, like as a Padres fan, maybe you could think to yourself, what's a good way to get the Dodgers out of the playoff run? And then I could mess around with this. I'm not saying that happened, but the thought has to at least cross your mind, right? I mean, if you're thinking about it like that, I mean, I'm not saying that she did that. Anyways, the other thing, it did come out that she's a Padres fan. It did come out that she had relationships with some other players. It did also come out that they dissolved this restraining order, and it doesn't really matter to MLB what this case is about. It doesn't really have any impact on what happens with the MLB, because the MLB is going to punish people, and they've shown this in the past. So if their track record says anything, Bauer is probably not coming back to baseball, at least this year, if not part of next year. And I wouldn't, if he does get suspended and he does have to if he does get punished by MLB, which he will, I think, If he does get punished, it's going to be it's significant. It's like 50 or 80 games. It's no joke. But in the past, there's been more than one player, quite a few players actually, that never had any charges filed against them and never got found guilty of any crime, still serving substantial punishments and suspended for however many games. So, like Aroldis Chapman is one. Another would be Domingo Germán is one. There was several cases where, anyway, bottom line, and this is the truth, MLB doesn't care if you are found guilty or not, if any charges are pressed against you or not, they still will punish the players. If they get into any kind of kerfuffle with domestic violence policy that they have now, which to me, it's a bunch of bullshit. If these players, big deal, they have a fight with their girlfriend, the cops get called, all of a sudden now their whole season is gone, their trade value is down, their contracts are less, they spend the rest of their life paying for something because they got into a fight one night when they got in too many drinks, and then them and their girlfriend got into a shouting match, which we've all been in, by the way. Lenny and I do it like once a week. So, it's just, to me, it's not right that they do have an impact on the player's reputation. And because, well, why wouldn't you assume that they're guilty if the MLB is suspending them for 50 or 80 or 100 games? It's not right. But that's what the MLB does, and I assume that's what's going to happen with Bauer. The other thing is the police investigation that they're still doing, because he's under investigation in Pasadena. The police are investigating what happened. And according to several different lawyers, and I haven't really heard anybody say anything else besides this, is that the fact that they haven't arrested him, they were already investigating him for a month or so before she even came public, that they haven't done anything by now. It's really hard to imagine that they think that this case is strong enough to press charges. Now, no, I'm not making up excuses for Bauer. I absolutely am not trying to defend what he did, but I just am here to say the facts. So if it offends you, I'm sorry. If it makes you mad, I apologize. But this girl, absolutely, the judge decided that he did not cross the lines because she set the rules out. It wasn't that he went past what she allowed him to do. She set the rules without thinking of the consequences of those boundaries that she set. There's also text messages of her talking about how she's going to get paid and she's going to be driving in a Range Rover after she's done with Bauer, let it rain, like make it rain, and all these comments that she was making. She lied about, to her best friend, she lied about where she was. She said that Bauer was at her house the second meeting, that Bauer came to her house, and she admitted that she lied to her friend. She said that her friend didn't want her to drive all the way to Pasadena, so she lied. Okay, but she also lied to her boss because she told her boss that she went there a day that she didn't go there because she called in sick. So it just doesn't really make her look like that consistently honest. And I do not condone what Bauer did, but I also still don't believe, with all my heart, I do not believe that he's abusive, like to women just randomly, that he's abusing people. And he was so stupid. Like when you're in the public's eye and you need to curb your fantasies for at least until you're out of the public eye, don't do stupid stuff that somebody could hold against you. Because I believe, and I'm a woman, so like if a guy said this, he'd probably be canceled off of Twitter. But the truth is, there are a lot of women, and these women get very pissed off and mean and angry because they're not being paid attention to. They want to have a relationship with these athletes, and they know that these athletes are not that interested. So they get pissed off and they get very vengeful and revengeful. And then women are meaner than men by far. That's coming from a woman. They can be very, very mean. And if you've ever seen a woman fight, like you've seen dudes fight all the time, but if you've ever seen two chicks going at it, okay, you see how just crazy they could be, ripping each other's hair out, and like, they're mean. So don't think that just because these women are accusing these athletes of doing this, that it's really true. there's case after case every year of a disgruntled female, making things into something that they're not, so that to get revenge on the guy that they are obsessed with or whatever. I'm just saying, it's not right to assume like that the player is automatically guilty just because it's a woman accusing a man, the whole thing. So that's just my opinion. And of course, you guys are welcome to have your own opinion, and that's all good. But there is a lot of information coming out about the Bauer thing. I hope to see him in baseball again. I hope that the mistake that he made with this girl will not impact the rest of his career, but the chances are good that it will. And he's really lucky that he signed that contract before all of this shit hit the fan. Okay, he's really lucky, but still, will the Dodgers be able to get out of that contract? I have no doubt that they'll try to get out of the contract, but I don't know for sure that they will be able to, especially if there's no charges against him. It's one thing to suspend him for games in baseball. It's another thing to say, I'm not paying his contract. I mean, it would have to be a pretty special situation for him to not get paid. And so will the Dodgers bring him back? It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. What he did is who knows, but a lot of people know, a lot of normal people just can't imagine this type of actions, but whatever, there's some people that like it, and this is apparently this is what happened here. But regardless, just that's all for Bauer, and that's it. Everybody have a good day. We are getting a hurricane tomorrow, and it is coming right at the island. No joke around. It's gonna hit the Hamptons mostly, but so that's about 25-30 minute drive east for us, but we're right in the middle of the island. We shouldn't be in too much danger unless this thing was so huge that it like literally just sank the whole island. And then, it was nice knowing you. But for the most part, Lenny and I are going to be fine. And we're supposed to get like 80 or 90 mile an hour winds. And the last hurricane I remember where it was a big deal was Hurricane Sandy, but it didn't really turn out to be that big of a deal because Lenny and I were moving at the time. Right before the hurricane hit, we had just moved out of our apartment, and it was the first night that we were staying at a hotel because we were waiting for our house to be ready to move into. And we lived in a hotel for about 30 days, and it started the day of Hurricane Sandy, or maybe, yeah, it was Hurricane Sandy. So we didn't have to deal with all the electricity out. But Lenny's son, Mark, who also lives on the island with his mother most of the time, their house didn't have electricity for 7 or 8 days. And so that could happen here too, but I'm totally prepared for no electricity. We have a heater if we need it, but I hope we don't. Anyway, I'm just babbling. We're getting ready for a hurricane. Have a good day, everybody. I'm out. Oh, wait. I don't want to stop it. I want you to hear. Here's Ticked Off Vic. This is great. Someone might be offended? What? I hope you guys can hear it. I want to turn me off.
Your sister's there, the Tony Berry, you know what ticks me off? Bullshit. Bullshit ticks me off. Follow me. A few bullshit things have happened lately that I want to get off my chest because it's become very clear that out of my huge audience of 2 million followers, a huge percentage gets what I'm doing. But a tiny percentage was clearly kicked in their heads by a mule when they were children. Because some of the comments and messages I'm getting are beyond fucking stupid and complete bullshit. And by the way, even a tiny percentage of 2 million people is still a lot of people. You know what I mean? Okay. A few weeks back, I posed.
I don't know if you can hear.
Like I was the Yankees coach lying on the ground with a knife, a gun,